It is Gerry coming to you today from Rhhythmia, which I haven't left in the past 6 months. Who is Rhhythmia? We are a life advancement center that believes in a really unique way of self-development. And it's this particular way of a merger between soul and self. And I'm going to get into this today a great deal. About 95.12% of the people that come here, so 951 out of every 1,000 have this happen to them here. And then 97.55% of them say that this is still working in their lives 6 months later. So I'm going to talk about this today because I have some real unique discoveries. I'm an older, wiser version of myself because I'm now 57 as of yesterday. So I'm much smarter than I was last week. I want to talk about a couple things. So number one, we're in the middle of a construction project here. We have 80 rooms being renovated. We have a brand new pool and lounge area. We're renovating a part of Roots. It's all going to be new for when you get here. So I'm keeping busy with that. My predictions now, in March, I predicted a 17% infection rate and a 0.26 to 0.5% death rate. That is absolutely going to happen. Another thing that was predicted was a replay of the Roaring 20s, and that is going to happen. What do I mean by that? There is such pent-up demand in the world for all things good and bad. There's a pent-up demand for everything, for food, and a pent-up demand for entertainment, and a pent-up demand for gambling, and a pent-up demand for spiritual stuff. There's just a pent-up demand, and that kicks off a V-shaped recovery. And it's not a V, it's more of a check. If you look at what happened during the Spanish flu, the exact same thing. It was a check, not a V. This will be a check. And I'm also going to predict the end of the virus. For all intents and practical purposes, this virus is dead from a death standpoint between the second week of October and the last week of October. Now, will someone call it dead? I believe they will right prior to elections. And then will life be back to normal? I believe right after the closure of the election, life will be back to normal for all people, but it won't be normal. It'll be abnormal. It will be life in this pent-up production mode. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute. So let's just talk about some things. I myself am now at 57 years old, which I never thought I would make it this long. And what I've noticed is this: I'm in the best shape of my life. I am more clear than I've ever been. And what can I attribute that to? Stem cells, plant medicine, my diet. Like, there is no thing such as age anymore. If you play this game the right way, I actually promise you that I feel better at 57 than I did at 27. I swear to God. Better, clearer, more on point, more involved, more full of life, like I am full of life. And I just thank God for plant medicine, because I was a dead man 10 years ago. Honestly, I was physically a dead man. It was all over except the crying. It was over. So thanks to that. Lessons from the medicine. This broadcast is going to be super, super important from the standpoint of the diagramming what happens in the plant medicine and how to reflect that in our life. I've made a tremendous discovery in the past 3 months. You see, in my way of looking at life, when something is working, I don't break it apart. It's the things that aren't working that I get into the detail about. So when this thing happened, when the moon showed us about how the soul is fractured at the beginning of your life, somewhere between when you're conceived and about 5 years old, 6 years old, it splits. And then the rest of our life is spent in mourning over this split and trying to fill this hole with drugs, alcohol, business, family, sex, you name it. We're trying to fill this hole and it doesn't work. And then when you put this back together, how all this magic happens in your life. So I want to talk about it, and people say, why? And I finally know why. Why does this happen on plant medicine and yet is so hard to do without it? I know why. And the why is amazing. Here's the truth. In plant medicine at Rhythmia, we have a program, and the program has 3 primary components. Who have I become, where you have to attest to yourself who I have become. That's the hardest part of this thing. And then the second step is merge me with my soul. And the third step is heal my heart. And these happen just like this. Now, it was very, very confusing to me why this could happen under plant medicine, but wasn't happening for people in their normal life. And I got it. I understand it. I really, really, really do. See, what happens in plant medicine is you show me who I become, and the medicine shows you who you become, and then you automatically, more than half the time, feel terrible about the asshole that you become in certain ways, right? In certain ways. But when you're seeing this, when you're seeing it, you are under the influence of heavy self-love. Heavy self-love. What does that mean? People say, oh, I felt the mother's love and I am forever changed. You felt, because everything outside of you is in you, you felt love. Your own love. That mother is a reflection of the love of yourself. Now, when you feel love like that, you not only have tolerance for who you become, you love who you become. And you see, when you identify what it is, and then you love it, even in even if in the regular world it's perceived as a shortcoming amongst you and others, it does not matter. Your drinking becomes, in that moment, I see that I'm a drunk. In that moment, when I get that message, not only do I see that I'm a drunk and feel bad about it in life, I love it because it's being exposed in a moment of huge self-love. Huge. And it's like, yeah, I see me, but I also see my hero's journey. I also see why it happened. And holy fuck, do I love me. I am in awe of love, and all that love is within me. And in that moment, where we love our hairy bits, our warts, so to speak, in that moment, the miracle happens. You see, in that moment of loving that, then the merger can occur. The soul comes back in. And then the heart gets healed. Here's some mistakes that people at Rhythmia make when they leave. They are healed. And in their healing, they're given the exact composite of masculine and feminine that they need in order to fill their role in this life. And they go back into their heads, they come out of this healing, and they start looking for, how do I improve? And once you do that, you can't. You can't. I need you to hear that. Once you do that, you're identifying those things of your nature that you're against. You're in a period of detesting. You're detesting something in you. And from there, you get stuck. What is the opposite of this? The opposite is that after you're merged, you come out and say, hey, yeah, I'm a little rough and I love it. Or I'm a little too weak and I love it. Now, here's the trick. You have to apply the love feeling of being in that ceremony to that piece of you that others would perceive as hairy or a wart or something. You have to apply that piece of you, because when you do that, the nature of that thing shifts again, because it can only shift in love. It cannot shift in dislike. It cannot shift in I'm going to put up with it. It cannot shift in I'll pretend to like it. It can't shift there because, I almost smell my coffee, because that feeling does not exist. So let me talk about that. So if I'm forcing myself to like someone, never fucking works. It never, ever, ever works. I can't force this to like that. I can't. But when I like that from my heart, the nature of both things change. The nature of both things change. So what am I talking about? How does this, what are we even discussing here? We're discussing the miracle of plant medicine. What is the miracle of plant medicine? That when we are exposed, because most people don't even know what the fuck they become. Most people walk around, and if they heard people talking about them, they would think they were talking about someone else. They're so far out of what they become. But when that is shown to us in the medicine, we're in a period of what Catholics or Christians would call consolation, where we're getting bathed in love. And when you're getting bathed in love, see, there's no miracle in the medicine. And this is a chicken and the egg thing, because maybe we can see who we become because it's a safe environment when we're being bathed in love. That could be it. I don't know what came first, and that's the chicken or the egg. What I know is this, is that when it happens, that we see who we become, and our mind is kind of shocked. We're like, ooh, yet there's this feeling of loving it that almost makes us giddy. And sometimes it'll last two medicine sessions where they first see who they become, and then the next day they're walking around Rhythmia like, I can't believe, hey, da da da. And the next thing you know, they drink the medicine again the next night, and it happens that all of this love just pours. And then all of a sudden they see their journey, and this is nothing other than your hero's journey. No matter what you did, and I don't even care if it's murder, it's your hero's journey. No matter what you've done, when you look back on that in the movie of your life, it was part of this hero's journey. And yeah, you're going to feel terrible about it. And to be able to feel bad about it and love it is something that, in my opinion, only happens once you know the feeling tone of the medicine. Now, that's the miracle. That's the whole thing. This system, we could do it all day and all night, each of us could. And the system, at the end of the day, once this happens, where we are is in complete and utter freedom. Complete, utter, unadulterated freedom. That's why this place has become a phenomenon. Because that feeling, now, you can put yourself back in jail. You can. Because when you look at this creation, this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful merging of you and all of your parts, when you look at it and you want the human nature is to bump that up a notch, don't. When you go home, rock it, be it, and love it. And if you love it, it's constantly going to be emerging. As soon as you take a part of it that you don't like and you otherize one little fucking tiny bit of you, it is on hold. And not only on hold, it's on hold laced with frustration. So I want to talk about it. Here was the opportunity to live the rest of your life from this. And once you otherize a piece of it, it stops. And it can only, and then you got to come back here and we can reset it and da 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 da. But the art of this, and 97% of the people figure out the art of this. The art of this is to love it with its hair and its warts, because both outcomes are beautiful. If you love it with its hair and its warts, maybe the divine, of which you are, had a plan, and that plan can only be filled in that composition. Boom. What do I mean by that? I'm no longer trying to be Taita. I'm no longer trying to be Mitra. I'm no longer trying to be Tiger Woods. I'm no longer trying to be Kelly Slater if I surfed. I'm really trying to be me. And all of a sudden, in that being me, number one, I feel, and I fill my divine purpose. And number two, I let that me emerge and evolve, because I'm not fucking with it. I'm leaving it alone in an environment of love. Do you know how cancer cannot live in an oxygen-rich environment? That's already a proven thing, fact of life. You cannot and will not evolve in an environment that's not enriched in love. Fact. Fact, fact, fact. And it can't be, and this is where the trick is, it can't be some fake bullshit love. It can't be some fucking nickel dime store love. Has to be the real fucking thing. Now, so let's talk about, that's under plant medicine. How can I do this under my normal life, or in my normal life? How can I do this in my normal life? Well, it requires a lot fucking more work. And anybody who says, oh, you do it my way and you're free, and you do it your way and you're fucked, is a liar. Because everything is in the medicine, and we're in all medicine. It can't be in us if we're not in it. It's this thing. But it is harder. Why? Two major reasons. Number one, if we're not in an environment of love, there's a part of our ego that does not want to see the truth because it's scary to it. If I see the truth and I call out my ego in an environment that's hostile and not love, my ego is going to trip out. And then if my ego trips out, I shut down my store. This is a lot like making love. You immediately lose your erection. So, and that is like a great metaphor, right? Because if you get a glimpse of it, it will turn you off. If you get a glimpse of it and you're not, your container is not full of love, it's gonna over. The second thing is, if you're lucky enough to see it, to see the truth of you, and the container is not full of love. And when I say the container, I don't mean the business or the thing, I mean the you is not full of love, then you're going to fall into self-hate and self-doubt. And from that, you can never accept yourself, love yourself enough for your soul to come back in to create the merger. Can it be done? Yes, absolutely. How can that happen? By accident, and there are no accidents. By accident, and I mean by accident on all levels. You can get in a physical accident and get to a place where you're on the brink of dying. And NDEs have the soul merger all the time. That's one. It can happen by accident because you stumble upon it. You love something that you normally wouldn't allow yourself to love as a part of you, and you watch it evolve. That can happen by accident. Second way, it can be done through self-assessment and meditation. It really can. The Rhythmia experience can be done by self-assessment and meditation. Self-assessment, taking the list of things that I believe that I am, who I become, meditating on them, and now we get our list, and then going back into a meditation, getting the feeling tone of love in that meditation. And here's the trick. The feeling tone of love in a meditation is when we meditate on the object of our love. For me, it would be my children, or my girlfriend, or Rhythmia. I have this sense of love. So I would get that feeling tone of love, and then I would run the who I become through it. And that can allow us then to have another meditation where we mentally merge with our soul. So there is a way to do it. Does that way require enormous self-control and surrender? Yes. And if you notice how I talk in dualities, because the whole thing is in contradiction to itself. The whole thing is. And that's really hard to swallow. And yet on medicine, it's crystal clear. So the thing is, my good news to you is this, and this is what's crazy. In my aftercare programs at Rhythmia, this was never talked about. And I'm going to have John Jacob or someone on my team develop this into a subcomponent of our aftercare program. I think there's like 8 modules in our aftercare program. This is going to be a module because it is so goddamn important when people leave. A lot of times, so they're looking for the contrast. So when you first leave here, your old life looks like this and your new life looks like this. But because we're human, and this is the greatest thing about humans, because we can get used to anything, we get used to it, and now there's no contrast and we feel a little lost. So instead of going to self-love, we go into self-assessment and find those things that we dislike and we detest them and try to change them. Instead of going into self-assessment with the specific purpose of I am going to fill my container with love when I look at them, and I'm going to transfer that love to them so that they can either stay and rock it out or evolve. Boom. See this thing today, please share this, because this is the proverbial shit. This is the one. This is one I want you to hang on to, because it's so incredibly important. So important. So if you take this today, if you've been here and you're having a little issue, just go back to what you otherized. Just go back to what you disliked. Just go back to what you want to change and run through these steps. And I'm going to tell you what, you'll be so filled with love, and you'll be able to see these things. And I have to tell you, once you love them, they shit the bed in crazy ways. And I'm going to give you a little insight into me. I was always frustrated with my own masculinity. I was like, oh fuck, I'm too masculine, and listen, and I'm the guy helping people. And all of a sudden, without plant medicine, except with the medicine of coronavirus, in my aloneness, I figured this out, and I thought, holy shit, it's me. It's why I've become stuck. I become stuck. And I said, what is it? And when I got to it, I said, I'm going to love this masculinity no matter what, with all of its hair and all of its warts. And I have to tell you, you talk about a persona non grata. Be a white 57-year-old masculine guy in the 2020s. And yet I did it. And what happened when I did it? Well, the first thing is I had the greatest time loving that masculine energy. And then without my noticing, it shifted. Crazy shit. And I almost felt like, wait, something's missing. And here's the thing, my femininity balanced because I loved the masculinity. Crazy stuff. And then I learned the lesson of never, ever going through this again. Never when I make my list, because I'm constantly in self-assessment, which is cool because I want to be a real key part of this change, of this shift. I want to play, I want to fully, when I'm done and I meet her and I say, honey, I did the best I could fucking do. I gave it everything. And she'll look at me and say, I know you did. You did what I told you to do. Her, the mother, whatever that God is to you. Yeah. So the thing is, I'm constantly doing self-assessment, but I was doing the wrong thing. And how did I find this? Here's a key thing for being at Rhythmia. A key thing for being at Rhythmia is journaling every single journey. Because I tell you what, I have 276 journeys, and each one has at least a paragraph. And what I've been doing at Rhythmia in these times is I've been going back and reading them. And I wouldn't have found this if I didn't write that. So please, please, when you're here, in those 4 journeys that you do while you're here, even if you thought it was nothing, write everything you can remember about it down the next day. And when you get home, type that out and save that shit. Save it. Because there's 8 months worth of work you could do in each one of those. But when I say work, I mean it'll put you to follow the crumbs, to the thing that you're detesting about yourself, to the thing that you're otherizing. So today was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful message. Should I say that about myself? Yes, because it was just an amazing message. Please take this and share it. If you know there's someone out there, and here's the thing, there's people that do plant medicine in other places, and they get on the bicycle of wanting to do more plant medicine, but they never do the work around the last one. So that's a lot like, the experiences are orgasmic, right? In their craziness, they're orgasmic. But if you don't do the work around them, you'll never, ever, ever advance on the life stuff. You'll advance in the astrals, but we don't live in the astrals. We live here. So please, if you've been to another place, somebody might be looking at this right now and saying, well, I have a friend, Steve, who's done 48 journeys and he's stuck in the same thing. I guarantee you that the 49th journey ain't gonna do it. I guarantee you. Because it's something in the work that was written down that's not being completed, so the next step can happen. And I want to tell you, people who come to Rhythmia, fuck, I love to see it. And you should come every 6 months, every year. You should, absolutely. I want you back because it's a cleaning out and a thing of, if you're like an empath and you're really a light worker, a light warrior, you take on a lot of shit that you can't get rid of yourself. And that's a great thing to come and journey and clear that shit out. And write down everything and go back to it and go back to it and go back to it. And having a rough day, if you have 5 pages worth of journeys, just open them up and point your finger and start reading. The thing is, when you wrote that down, it's all recorded. It'll tell you what page to stop at. Close your eyes, turn the page, fucking put your finger down, and that's where it'll be. So please do these things. I love you. I really think today is a great message. Please share this and share it to people that have done medicine elsewhere and are stuck. A lot of places don't give them anything to support them or help them. Share this today. And next week we're going to talk more about how to embody the love of the self once we discover these pieces. We're going to talk about that, and I want you to tune in because it's a critical part. Guys, have a great week, and may God bless you and hold you, and use these tools this week and see if you don't see a huge shift, and I mean a huge life-changing shift. Since 2014, since I first did plant medicine, this revelation is the second most powerful thing that's happened in my life. So take it and use it. Love you guys. Can't wait to see you. Cheers.